How do you make a commercial? Where do you begin? What does that process look like from beginning to end? These are the questions I've been asking myself since before I was producing and directing. I mean, I still ask myself these questions because honestly, I don't know. No one's ever let me behind the curtain on their process. Everyone kind of keeps it this tightly held secret that, I don't know, if you found out what they did, then you would do it better, or you would take a job from them that they otherwise would have had. So I've had to learn a lot through trial and error, and I want to kind of share with you what I do. I want to walk you through a project that I had and take you through the stages of pre-production, which, if you're new here, pre-production is the stage where after you get a project, kind of all the processes where you actually get to the point of filming. Then I want to walk you through actual production, what I did on the day. And then finally, we'll take it through the editing and post-production process, where we take all the footage that we had, cut it all up, colored it, then deliver the actual final product that you'll see. So like I said, this is my process. This is how I learned to do it through a lot of trial and error and what I found works best for me. So please, if you find that something doesn't work for you, leave it behind, don't take it. If you find that something does work for you, use it next time you make a project. And please, share with me what you're doing, how you find success when you're making a project. One of the things I said was I wanted to build a community through this channel. So share with me what you're doing. Maybe I'll take some from you and I can learn from you. The project we're going to be breaking down today is a video I made for a brand called Ava the Label. It's a project that we produced, filmed, and finished in about a 2-month period. It's a 30-second video, so that 2-month period is kind of that sweet spot where I would say is that medium to normal amount of time that you'll have. Any longer than that is obviously great. If we could have it as filmmakers, you'd give us 6 months for everything. And then I've had some projects though where they come in and it's you get it on day 1 and by day 30, a month later, it's supposed to be in the client's hands and done. So this was about a normal amount of time that we would have for a commercial this size. It was a small crew, low budget, but we still wanted to push the bounds of creativity. We still wanted it to look and feel trendy and cool. And so we primarily did that through the shot selection that we chose and the color grading. But before we get into that, let's kind of go through how we got the gig. So every time I get a new project, there's always a few questions I ask right off the bat. And this applies to commercial work, it applies to music videos, narrative work. It can pretty much go across the board. These questions just kind of give me a baseline of what does success look like for this project. And it's just kind of that North Star that you're always chasing. That's always the guiding light so that you're on the right track. The questions are always pretty simple, straightforward, but they cover a lot. The first question is, what are we looking to accomplish from this video? Are we looking for a new audience? Are we trying to form a new connection with an already established audience? The second question I like to ask is, what are we looking to highlight? It's a clothing brand, so that one's pretty obvious. We're looking to highlight clothes. But this can also go across the board for different kind of mediums that we're working for. I asked the owner of Ava the Label these same questions, and she said that she was looking to show off a specific collection. It was one that was inspired by Taylor Swift's Eras Tour, and that we wanted to apply it to more than just Taylor Swift fans. Because while she's an amazingly popular artist, not everybody is going to connect with Taylor Swift the way some others might. So we wanted it to be kind of more of a broad audience feel. And the vibe wanted to be just kind of colorful, really make the colors feel alive, make the clothes feel alive, kind of have them be the statement piece of every kind of outfit that the models were wearing and the kind of statement of each frame that we had. You can see right off the top, this is one of the clothing items that we used. It's a very colorful top. There's blues, there's pinks. You can see there's some greens in here. And if we go back, there is one of the dresses that we used. Blues, pinks, greens, all around a very lively, vivacious kind of color palette. So now that I've talked to the brand about everything they're looking to get out of the video, the thing I like to do next is start building my treatment. The treatment is essentially a document that is kind of a holistic look at our approach to the video. That's going to be everything from the storyline that we're looking to pitch, the vision, like the mood that we're looking to get across. It'll cover everything from the clothing that they'll be wearing outside of just the tops that we're trying to show, to the casting that we're looking to do, the sound we're looking to have, the editing style we're going to be using as an approach to this kind of video. So for my treatments, I like to use Canva, and Canva is this online like graphic design platform that you can use to create presentations. It's similar to PowerPoint or Keynote or Google Sheets, anything like that. I like to use Canva because first and foremost, it's incredibly user-friendly. I'm not much of a design person myself. It's not where my skills lie. So having something that makes it very easy to use is perfect for me. Another strength of Canva is the fact that it's online. So it makes it easy to use across platforms when it comes to a Mac user or a Windows user, or even just like any kind of projection. It's easier just to use something that's a bit more web-based. And it also just makes it easier to share with other people. You know, all I have to do is give them a link and they can immediately access it. I don't have to send them a file or a PDF even. I can just directly share that, and then we can be editing at the same time too. So this is the treatment that I made for Ava the Label. I used a template that I've created called Trendy Rebel. I have about 4 or 5 templates that I kind of use for different projects and different style types. And for this one, I titled my project Queens Village. We were filming in Philadelphia, and if anybody is from Philly or knows the Philly area, there is a neighborhood called Queen Village. And considering the clothes we were using and the kind of vibe that I was bringing to the project, I just felt kind of having a play on words there really applied to everything. And in this treatment, we kind of have everything for the project that the client needs to see in broad strokes. We have our title page. We have the approach to the story, which is essentially going to be the storyline and kind of where everything goes. The mood that we're looking to hit, which is kind of taken from what the person at Ava the Label and I discussed. We also have a reference video. So one of the biggest keys to a treatment is references. It's really a good way to get across to the clients or whomever what it is you're looking to tell. For this project, the biggest reference we pulled was a commercial for H&M called Be Yourself and More. It's directed by Nathaniel Erickson, who I had not heard of him before this project, but let me tell you, after like seeing this commercial, I fell in love with his work. Shout out Nathaniel. But one of the things I loved about this was it was very vibrant in its colors. It had a very shallow depth of field, which I loved. It really just brought attention to exactly what the director wanted you to see and nothing else. It let things fade into the background. After that, kind of the visual language that we'll be having in the story, going on just more visual references. So like I said, references are a massive, massive piece of the puzzle of communicating with a brand what you're looking to do and communicating with them how you see bringing their product to life. I like to use 2 primary sources for pulling reference images. The first one that I use, which I would say is hands down my favorite, I straight up use this website for like every single project I have. I use it for hours on end. I spend probably most of my internet usage on this website. I use FrameSet. FrameSet is incredible. I'm telling you, it is the best out there. They have everything from commercials. You can see it over on the side here. Commercials, music videos, movies. Their movie collection is a little small at the moment, but it's getting more and more by the day. Another site I use is ShotDeck. ShotDeck was created by Lawrence Sher, the DP of Joker, amongst other things. And ShotDeck primarily focuses on film and television. It doesn't include any commercials or any music videos, which just isn't really as applicable to what I'm working on at the moment. But you know, if you were working on a narrative or even a music video, and it can still work for commercials too, it's a great place to pull references for that. And honestly, both are paid programs, but neither is that expensive. But again, it's kind of just like, what are you using it for? How can you use it correctly? Which one are you more comfortable using? And yeah, I mean, they're both great platforms. You just got to find the one that works best for you. And, don't forget, there's always good old Google Images. Never fails you. So after the visuals, you can just see we go through casting, we go through what we're looking to get out of the models, like what we're expecting them to kind of look like, the vibe we want the models to give off. We go through stylings. As you can see, we kind of highlight 2 of the clothes we already talked about here. As you go on, just kind of discussing like what the cinematography will look like, how we'll color it, the editing style, which we will come back to. I mean, I think in low budget filmmaking, editing is a massive part of everything. And it's just kind of really where you can flesh out a lot of creativity and you can really have a project live. Going forward, audio. Did we want to do voiceover? We were going to do voiceover for this project. Did we want to hear any of the sound of the recordings? We opted not to, but we initially thought we would. And then just a thank you title page. It's just always nice to say thanks for taking the time to read everything. And yeah, that is the treatment for Queen's Village. It was something I was really proud of making. I thought I had done a great job of expressing like my approach to the commercial and how I felt I could really bring the brand to life in a new way. And thankfully the client agreed. So this is what we ended up using, and this kind of brought an end to the creative stage of development where we kind of just go through concepts. And now it's actually time to start literally making the commercial. Next will come up location scouts and shot listing, scheduling, figuring out everything from great, now we have an idea, to this is how it'll be filmed. So when it comes to locations, I always start with the good old-fashioned Google Maps location scout. The reason I do a Google Maps location scout is just because, one, I know the city pretty well, so it wouldn't be too hard to actually look at a spot and know in my head that I've been there before, but also it just kind of saves some sort of resources of what will even look good on camera. Before we go running through the whole city, trying to figure out where to shoot, and we've just wasted a whole day because we didn't find anything, because we didn't know what anything looked like. Let's slow down and spend some actual time looking at locations that we even know might look good. I knew right away that I wanted to be shooting at those colorful houses, like I had mentioned. And I thankfully, knowing the city well enough, knew exactly where they were located. They're located right here, 3rd and Bainbridge. So if we click right there, go into the Google Street View, you can see, bam, there they are. The beautiful, beautiful row homes. They look perfect. I knew right away that this is where I wanted to film the primary spot of the commercial. So I looked at this. I took a shot at Lombard South Station. Again, straight up pulled the image for the reference photos right off of Google Images. I also took a look at Washington Square Park. So Washington Square in Philadelphia is right next to Independence Hall. You can see that up here. It's just catty corner to it. And I knew it's an incredibly beautiful park, but it's also not the busiest one, being right next to Independence Hall. Most people tend to congregate over in that area. So I knew while it would certainly be busy, it wouldn't be overrun. And I knew it was this beautiful spot to be surrounded by nature with all the greenery, but also you can see in all the backgrounds of all these photos, these big city high rises all around. And so yeah, after doing the Google Maps scout, we then went and actually did an actual location scout, an actual tech scout. These are photos I took just straight up on my cell phone, just kind of getting an idea of where we would be filming, what kind of shots I would be looking for, and just stuff to reference later on. I mean, this is almost verbatim what ended up being the background in one of the opening shots. So like I said, doing a tech scout, or a scout is any kind of scout, whether you're just by yourself or whether you're with someone else, a scout can be so vital because it can really give you the chance to know what can we accomplish and what is impossible. And that one shot right there did actually end up being used almost verbatim in the final product. So, the value of them is really impossible to overstate. So after we do the location scout comes kind of the more fun part for us creatives as like directors. It's where we get the chance to kind of shot list. With it being a small budget, I was both directing and producing. So when I made the shot list, I also just kind of threw it right into a schedule of like knowing where we were going to film, how can the shots I wanted be accomplished in the way that was most efficient to our time on the day, so we're not wasting any time, wasting any money. It's low budget, so money is so precious as it is. Let's just make sure that we are doing everything in the most efficient way possible. I mean, I would say with any sort of kind of independent filmmaking, efficiency is 100% the name of the game. If you're not being efficient, you're failing. So this isn't the exact schedule. This is actually from another music video that I just produced. I didn't direct, but it just kind of gives you a good idea of how I break down a schedule. I like to color code everything. It just makes it easier in my mind to kind of separate everything if I can just see it in different colors. I leave these 3 columns open always just for any sort of notes that anybody might have to give the director. I like to give everyone, major department heads like a DP or an editor, myself as the producer on this specific project. I like to give everyone the chance to put down their thoughts. And this is a way, the color coding that I've really found works for me, that I think is also really helpful for other people. Because again, separating things in our mind by color, it really just makes it simpler to understand by just a first glance. What's a shot? What is a setup? What is a load-in? What is a rehearsal? And it really just gives you the chance to digest it easily on that first glance. And so now there's 2 times I primarily go through a shot list. It's when I'm first creating it before the scout, where it's kind of just all ideas and, just really going based off this treatment and like what in my wildest imagination would it be? And then there's the post-scout shot list, which is like, okay, now that I know what is actually accomplishable at these locations, what needs to be replaced by a different shot, what can stay, what can go, and how does my overall vision match it at this point? I knew in my head that the whole video was gonna primarily hinge on 2 shots. It was the opening shot and the closing shot that I knew right away when I was making this treatment I wanted to have. The opening shot was going to be matching cuts of a push-in where all the models would be standing in front of these beautiful buildings, and we would just be cutting between the 3, all wearing their different types of clothes, matching, and then they would all be together. And then the closing shots were going to be at Washington Square, actually in front of these buildings right back here, not at this angle, where it was going to be on the ground, kind of looking up at them, looking over the camera, kind of almost like a fisheye, but not exactly going that wide with it, interacting with the camera. So I knew what the beginning would be, I knew what the end would be, and I just kind of had to fill in the middle as I found appropriate. And so then that was great when after we did the location scout and I had all of my photos of everything and I had done the Google Maps location scout, I knew what was possible so that when I was filling out the body of the piece, I could make it realistic. And then that's pretty much pre-production. That's the process of going from concept to the day of filming. There's still the hiring of models, which thankfully I had friends who had worked with models before or had known models themselves and could introduce me to those people and kind of help me get those connections started. And then the other part of it is asking for crew. And if you're an independent filmmaker who's on the beginning side of their career, I would recommend just asking friends. The people you're making films with now are the people that are going to be helping you in 10 years. So grow with everyone. As you're growing, let them grow with you. And the biggest thing I would recommend is doing the work in pre-production. It's not the most glamorous stuff. A lot of it is this kind of like producing work of location scouting and, pulling references. I spend hours pulling references. And sometimes it's the most rewarding. Sometimes it makes you want to put your head through a wall because you're looking for a very specific thing and you just cannot find it. So if you do that work though, then the day of filming is worlds easier. Everyone knows what they're looking to accomplish and everyone knows how to accomplish it. And that's all thanks to the work you did weeks and weeks before. The day of for my shoot went just as perfectly as you could ask for, honestly. It was smooth. The models were excellent to work with. My crew was great. And because I had put in all the work beforehand, I made their lives easier. The shoot went great because all the work was done. So the more work you do now, the less work you have to do on the back end, so that when editing comes around, the post-production process of coloring comes around, sound, all that kind of beautiful stuff, you've already got it figured out. You've already planned for it. It's already taken care of. And that's what we'll discuss in the next video, the post-production process. How do we take this great footage that we just shot and color it, edit it, sound mix it to create this incredibly professional and cinematic looking piece? Because in low budget and independent filmmaking, sometimes the post-production process is the most vital part of the whole thing.